Welcome everybody to the first webinar in a series of 3. This one entitled Mobile App Quality Trifecta, Compliance, Performance, and User Experience in Regulated Sectors. I am joined today by my esteemed colleagues here at Sauce Labs, Sarah Rasmussen, Senior Director of Product Management, and Steve Spadaccini, Senior Director of Global Solutions and Systems Engineering. And I'm Mike Baldani, your host and moderator for today's session. When you look at traditional QA and software development several years ago, it was traditionally where engineering teams or developers would develop the code, then hand it off to QA to do their testing, and then hopefully get feedback back to developers. But that was acted as a bottleneck, right? It slowed things down, it delayed the feedback back to the engineering team, and it just kind of reduced overall velocity of your releases. So organizations started shifting left, right? So developers and QAs working together to test code as it was being developed, which helped accelerate releases out to the market. But now also organizations are also shifting right along with shifting left, right? They are monitoring those releases and those apps in production to catch any issues or any performance problems before they impact users, right? But here at Sauce, we really prescribe to the continuous quality approach. And it's all about allowing organizations and their development teams to test early, often, and throughout their software delivery lifecycle. And because we found that actually helps our customers just manage cost efficiency a lot better. It increases the velocity of releases, and it also helps them mitigate risk from a quality standpoint. And we're not alone here, right? Gartner actually released a report saying that by next year, 70% of software engineering teams will actually adopt a continuous quality strategy. So you can actually think of Sauce Labs as being ahead of the market and ahead of the game here. And when you look at Sauce Labs, right, it's all about helping our customers deliver quality at speed across their software delivery lifecycle. And we do it throughout that process, from app management and storage, from the build phase, to enabling engineering teams and QA folks to test really efficiently and quickly with our virtual device and real device testing, to deploying, right? Help them more efficiently manage how they're distributing apps to their beta testers to get feedback back to the development team. And then when all that is done and they're releasing those features and those applications out into the market, we allow them to actually monitor those apps and features in production to let them catch any issues again before their users are impacted. And all of that information is fed into our analytics and insights so that you get a full breadth picture and visibility into what's happening across your testing process. And we also enable some AI capabilities that help you do that. And you'll hear more about that later. So the outcome for our customers is really letting them release quality mobile apps with confidence. And we help them do that in a centralized way that helps drive engineering efficiency. So your development teams and your QA teams are just more productive and they're moving faster. Ensuring regulatory compliance, making sure your testing processes are meeting those tight requirements around compliance issues, particularly for the folks in this session. And then it's all about also accelerating the delivery of those reliable apps, right? Getting those features and those applications out to your users quickly so that you can stay ahead of your competition. So let's start our discussion, right, with Sarah and Stephen. So Sarah, let me start with you. You talk to a lot of customers in your role. You're in a lot of executive business reviews. We've talked to USAA, JPMC. So again, banks, insurance companies, healthcare companies. What are some of the challenges you're hearing from them as they try to balance compliance and security with the pressure to release new features quickly?
Yeah, thank you, Baldani, for this question. And specifically, if you look at what are the challenges that our customers are seeing, balancing, compliance and security with the pressure to innovate and release fast, there's this idea of a digital confidence gap. How can you be really confident in your digital experience and digital sort of experiences? With that, the stakes are extremely high, especially for regulated industries where this trust is paramount. And what we are actually seeing is for customers that don't have that compliance in place in terms of what they need to have in place for their application, as a regulated industry application, but then having a business pressure to innovate is a huge risk. It can cause challenges in the digital experience where we also know that consumers are really hard to basically put pressure on any apps that are not meeting the experience or the interactions that they expect. 57% of consumers would actually consider switching to a different app if the digital experience are not meeting their expectations, if they're not able to click through the experience or access it in a manner that makes sense for them. At the same place, while we are all asked to deliver faster, there's a lot of bottlenecks in place to ensure that compliance review and the compliance issues well ahead. We also know that if the compliance issues are not surfaced early in the cycle, that can really make the fixes a lot more costly and time consuming when they're caught late in development or even in production. So from Sauce Labs, what's really important for us is that we cover all the big security and basically compliance certifications that you require in order to have a secure and compliant platform for your testing. That means SOC 2, Type 2, SOC 3, know your third-party certification, ISO certifications, and that includes our entire portfolio. This ensures that you can ensure that you have a compliant platform to test on, and you can focus on having that continuous testing and validation throughout the life cycle so that we can understand any issues early and upfront. Some of the best practices here could be visual testing, it could be beta testing, but also accessibility testing to actually make sure that the app is accessible on a global scale and have the best user experience, meeting compliance requirements while having that digital confidence, which is so important. Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks, Sarah. Steve, any thoughts here based on what Sarah has mentioned?
Yeah, first of all, great answers, Sarah. I think the not only to go along with the compliance, but it's being that a lot of our customers are in highly regulated testing environments to begin with, and the benefactors that you may not that go beyond just compliance is having test isolation, but between your data and of course other customers. Of course, you need that within a SaaS solution. When we think about having controlled access, who can and have the granular user management that you're able to use within any of your, whether you're using with SSO, using SAML 2.0 or using OAuth, just having consistency and scalability goes hand in hand with compliance. So it's this really nice way that security and compliance can get blended together.
Awesome. Thank you. Next question, Steve. I'm going to start with you, and I think we actually started kind of bleeding into this question with some best practices. But from a compliance standpoint, what are some of the best practices that you see or you recommend, for a secure testing workflow?
Yeah, I think the first one, before coming to Sauce, I was, also someone who was building products as a chief product officer. So one of the things that we really instilled as our first level best practice is that security is built into the quality, right? So all successful organizations that are able to go and have, their release cycles, release on time, zero defects as products get released, is that the successful ones move security and quality reviews early in development. So the ones that do fail, and there's plenty of horror stories out there that you could see that everything is done, and at the last moment, the last mile, it's let's now go and talk to the security team. Let's go talk to our compliance team and have them do their review. And ultimately, either someone's not ready, or surprised, the requirements weren't built in, from that perspective, and that's the first thing. So that shift, has to build that trust and confidence in any of the digital delivery that you're going to have. So do that first and foremost. And I think when we think about it as an advantage, in using Sauce, like we're the only platform, that I can see that has enterprise grade security solutions. And it's not just because now I work here, it's because that's how I felt before I came here and why we were using sauce previously. But, and as I said in the last answer, right, it's the ability to have secure tunnels. It's be able to use our Sauce Connect, IPsec proxy, protecting any sensitive environments, having private dedicated devices with full wipe features after every session. So it's digitally wiped. There's no data assets that are left on the devices. And then making sure you have like the business outcomes. I think you had the slide on it earlier, but making sure that you can ensure that code and data remain secure and compliant throughout the SDLC, throughout SDLC, right? So this is why I think when we talk, and as you talked about earlier, some of the trusted customers are all in financial, healthcare, regulated industries where compliance is just simply non-negotiable. So they come to Sauce because they don't have to necessarily think about those, because we're built not only from our platform, but our data centers from the ground up, with security and compliance being at the forefront of how we're doing it.
How is applying AI helping customers execute secure and compliant testing workflows to deliver quality mobile apps? Like we hear a
Yeah.
lot about AI, right? So
Yeah, I think this is really interesting because AI is this extremely powerful technology that can help us deliver more value, both in our internal processes, in our own development processes, but also how we think about delivering value for customers. If I look at regulated industries, and if I look at what I'm seeing as best practices that our customers are already thinking about or doing in practice, is how do I help basically analyze all the data that I have amongst my test quality and the quality of my apps. And basically use that data with help of AI to recommend improvements to me, to prioritize quality and compliance issues even before I detect them myself, as analyzing the massive data sets and metadata, spotting trends, spotting patterns. AI can also be used as a productivity tool to summarize, to write stuff like writing tests faster, suggestion how we maintain your test. But I think the really powerful opportunity here is spotting opportunities on risk and quality across the large data sets that we see from our customers. Basically, how can we take actions proactively? How can we highlight risk of the quality of your quality strategy, but also the quality of your apps, so that you as an engineering and QA team can be empowered to catch up on all the other things that you would like to do when it comes to quality. So AI becomes this, AI-powered agent that can help you be more actionable, provide better intelligence so that you are actually testing on the right things, prioritizing the most important risks for your app, and then doing that in a way that is a lot more efficient and a lot more productive than without AI. So Mike, you just switched to a little call out on the Sauce platform. We also have Sauce AI coming very soon. So there is a beta available for our customers starting in the next 2 weeks, where you'll basically be able to see how Sauce Labs can deliver that advantage and that intelligence across the metadata on your platform. What we can do is help you identify trends. We can help you speed up root cause analysis, so that instead of you digging into the test failures and the data sets, we can give you exactly what went wrong and what action you need to take in terms of improving the quality process. So this is extremely powerful. And of course, it's all on our secure platform and infrastructure that we already provide.
Yeah, I want to make sure we used just a couple minutes here just to make sure our customers know we are doing stuff with AI, right? It is important to us, and just wanted to give you this opportunity to talk about it. Steve, any other thoughts around AI, based on your past experience as well as here?
Oh, for sure. I could talk for another hour about it, but I think Sarah really nailed it. I would say as long as we're talking about security and compliance, make sure, as you use different AI tools in your environment, that you make sure you work with your security and compliance teams on which ones are approved and the ones that they know about. I think that's again, if we're trying to be proactive early on in the development cycle, and AI is going to be obviously within the tools you're using within your org as well as within sauce, make sure that that is checked off early on in your SDLC.
Yeah, that's good. Great point. Great point. What compliance certification should these organizations prioritize when they're looking at a mobile app testing platform?
Yeah, great question. And we get this a lot from customers and prospects. First of all, when you look across the compliance stack, Sauce Labs, we certainly have one of the only mobile testing platforms that has a complete full stack. So based upon the poll questions, you could kind of see that. I think everyone's kind of familiar with SOC 2 Type 2, but there's also SOC 3, which we additionally have ISO 27001. We also have ISO 27701, and then know your third party, which is abbreviated, as you see, KY3P, and I'll talk a little bit about that as well. But first off, the ISO 27701 does more than you may think of, but it does ensure global policy compliance, specifically around what you would see around GDPR and CCPA and a few others, right? So it's critical for mobile applications that are handling sensitive user data, right? You're going to need that, right? So know your third-party certification makes very strict third-party risk management standards, which many people or organizations don't have, but it is required in finance and other regulated industries. And I think security just goes beyond just some of the certifications, but with private device clouds, you have, secure proxy tunnels and full device sanitation after each session. So it's great to have the checkboxes of compliance to run through them. They are rigorous processes to get certified, but at the same time, it's also that we can have the paper, but we have to make sure that it's in practice and giving that level of security. But essentially, the bottom line is customers can be confident that their code and their data will remain uncompromised throughout the app development lifecycle. And I think those are the real things that you need to be prioritizing and thinking about when it comes to compliance.
Excellent. Thanks, Steve. Sarah, any thoughts here as well?
Yeah, one tip I would add is that a lot of companies, and SAWS included, have a trust center these days where you can actually get more details in case of you working directly with procurement or compliance teams internally. So trust.sawslabs.com is where we basically have all of the details about our current compliance certifications, data retention policies, and a lot more best practices that privacy and security teams will be very happy to read through. So that's also another thing that's important, is that we make all these details visible so that our customers can see exactly how we operate and how we protect the data.
Nice. Excellent. Thanks, Sarah. Steve, I'm going to call on you to start this one as well. So how important is testing on real devices in addition to simulators for regulated industries? We know emulators and simulators are used really for scale, but why is testing on real devices important, particularly for customers in these industries?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Michael. Like certainly in regulated industries, real devices are essential. Simply just for compliance critical scenarios, like doing secure payments or biometrics or location-based services, network aware testing capabilities. Like you're all going to need real devices in order to conduct those tests. And I think a little bit about us, if folks are not familiar, I mean, from our DC, we have 7,500 and growing real devices and over 1,700 and growing emulators and simulators, which, give you that, combination of being able to do scale and speed with accuracy and compliance. But I think what really sets us apart is, you could have private dedicated devices with 24-hour secure access, right? You can, this proprietary device cleaning that we have after every session. So like I said before, for uncompromised security. So we know when the device is not in use, it's been wiped, it's been cleaned, there's no data assets that are left. And, having end-to-end device management, right? So it's, being able to do that, and also having, regulated organizations focus on just the testing and not having to worry about the infrastructure, right? And by doing that, and since, like, as we're doing with this topic, it's focus on the testing. Don't worry about the infrastructure, because as we talked about today, it's highly secure, it's highly compliant, and it's going to remain that strict compliance simply for what customers expect out of us, and that customer trust that we have with them.
And then Sarah, we're going to give you the last question. How does a unified mobile app testing accelerate time to market while helping to maintain compliance?
Yes. So I'm going to go a bit from the compliance frameworks that we went through and more to the user experience and what we're seeing our customers use as best practices to meet both the compliance requirements, but also really create the best possible digital experience and user experience out there. So first, acceleration. There is sort of the bottleneck of building the app, releasing the app, and with that, Sauce Labs, with our scale, really help you reduce those bottlenecks. So we are seeing our customers that are using this unified mobile app testing strategy, including both real but also our virtual devices for scale, that they can actually cut their test execution time with up to 70%, and speed with 10 times faster parallel testing, which means that the velocity and the time they can actually run through the releases are much faster, which is important if you want to release daily and secure innovation delivered to your customers on a daily manner. So that's more on the acceleration piece. As well for the user experience, which is important when you deliver this innovation quickly, is that you need to deliver innovation quickly, but with high quality and compliance in mind. So there is a few best practices that we are seeing. One thing is our crash and error solution. So basically ensuring that you monitor your applications, not only in test, but also through beta testing and throughout production. This gives you unique insights to know if there is something that might be actually passing in test, but it's failing in production with a crash or another sort of user experience glitch or error. We give you the ability to have insights to that feedback loop, to prioritize errors even in production, to help understand what devices are my users using in the journey. And as you have that understanding, you can improve your test coverage, and as a result, improve your quality overall. The other trend that we are seeing is customers shifting to the other side of the spectrum, is that early design product development collaboration, where you have design, product engineering, and QA working closely together to release new innovation and basically build new features. As we do that, we believe that visual regression testing is really important, where you can actually validate that user experience, understand whether you are in alignment with the Figma designs or the prototypes that you might be building. And then also ensuring that we are meeting all the accessibility and compliance standards. So especially for regulated industries, apps need to meet a broad range of users, right? You are meeting users on a global scale across different segments, different age groups, and their digital experience and accessibility to a mobile app is critical. So that's something that we can help with, but as a part of your test strategy, visual testing, accessibility testing is really critical in order to maintain compliance, but also to maintain the best possible user experience while you're delivering fast to the market.
Fantastic, Sarah. I really appreciate the comment around accessibility, right? And meeting those compliance requirements around accessibility to a very diverse group of users around the world. So excellent. Steve, any thoughts there?
No, I think Sarah nailed it as well. I think from the customer perspective, as I talked, with customers, right? It's the message, that they're asking us or we're giving back is, catching defects early, reducing, rework and accelerating release cycles. So you can get the application to your customers faster, and I think that all comes down to is that you can do things a lot faster now, and the insights that we provide allow you to do that. It unleashes that capability for you to execute.
Excellent. Fantastic. So a couple questions here. One around AI. Do you use AI in your workday to automate or speed up any of your daily tasks? If so, how? That's an interesting question. Are we using AI to do stuff for ourselves? Any thoughts there?
I can definitely answer from the
Go
product
for
team,
it.
and Stephen can maybe give the other perspective on our go-to-market organization. On our products team, we're lucky to have like tools built in as a part of the Sauce Labs internal tool stack. So our engineering teams are using, code-assisted experiences as a part of creating code and helping them on that journey. On our product and design team, we are also using AI to help us with research, to understand the market better, to summarize content better, overall help us get sort of a faster insight into what might be happening out there. We are also starting to experiment with AI for prototyping and idea generation. So yeah, we're experimenting with the tool, but the most exciting thing is getting to use Sauce AI and how to actually use AI to understand our own test problems better and basically dig into problems on the quality side. So
Excellent.
yeah, definitely use it within the product team.
Fantastic. Sarah, Steve, any thoughts there?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, within the same organization and the approved tools that we can use for AI, go-to-market certainly takes advantage of it. And it's like anything else, I think depending on if you have experience outside of just the corporate approved AI tools, and there's quite a few out there, even if you're doing it, at home and asking for tax advice, it's not always right. And depending on the tool, some are better than others. So I think the cautionary part is that it allows you to get to answers faster. But you also have to really validate that the answer that you have is correct. And in some cases, there's more research that needs to go into that. So, certainly for the go-to-market organization, there's quite a bit of research and market fit, and I think that's been primarily how it's been used.
Excellent. Excellent. So, and then just one more question regarding real devices, because we chatted a little bit about real devices. And the question is more about, should my team be concerned that any real devices used for testing, make sure that they don't retain any data or code from previous test sessions? So is that critical? Is it not critical? What are your thoughts there? I'll let Steve, why don't you take that one first?
Well, before I answer it from a sauce perspective, and obviously in the previous question, I did say that all our devices are wiped when completed. It's a proprietary way of doing it. But I think if you look across just the industry and you're using devices for testing, you need to make sure that they are certified from being wiped. I'm sure if an audit was conducted by, your internal security teams, and there were solutions that you were using that weren't completely wiping themselves, and there was the possibility of data asset being left, that probably would be a very uncomfortable conversation. So by all means, and like I said, Sauce Labs, it's part of our DNA. It's something we built in from day one. And I think that is important as you continue to evaluate different types of testing solutions and make sure those are pushed to the forefront in your RFP and your decision making.
Thank you, everybody. First of all, thank you to Sarah and Steve for taking the time and putting a lot of energy into this session today.